Maybe it'd be good to begin by relating how I came in contact with Father Aloysius. Must have been about the year 1973, that I first met Father Aloysius. I had known a Dominican nun who had spoken of this special priest and said his name was Father Aloysius. And I was intrigued by what she told me about him, and I wanted to meet him. Then a Carmelite priest living in the monastery with me said that he knew Father Aloysius, and that if I wanted to meet Father Aloysius, that I could, he would present me to him. Well, Father Ted Hatton presented me to Maria Roth, who knew Father Aloysius well. We went to her home for a rosary, and after that, she said that she would introduce me to Father Aloysius. And she called me up one day and said, you may go over and meet Father Aloysius, and she gave me the address at the provincial house of the Claretians. I went over there specifically to go to confession. When I met him, he took me in to hear my confession, and afterwards he smiled at me and he said, you will become my spiritual son. I didn't know what that meant, but it felt very special. And he said, I will see you again. He didn't specify when or how. And I didn't ask, and I left, but I wondered about it. And several weeks later, I had occasion, I don't remember now how, but I went back to see him again. And so began a relationship with Father Aloysius that ran until he died. What impressed me most about Father Aloysius were two things. One was his extreme humility, and the other was the sense of charity, of great love. In his presence, you just felt a total selflessness in this individual who would give himself for other people, and a great it wasn't a self-deprecation of somebody putting themselves down, but somebody simply who was filled with the Lord and who allowed the Lord to shine through him. That impressed me very much. And the other thing that impressed me very much was the charity that just radiated from him, and the sense that you were loved by this individual totally and unconditionally. And I simply delighted to be in his presence. And I always wanted to prolong the visits, but after we sat and talked, or after I went to confession and after he blessed me, they were always brief visits, but they would always end with a special blessing from him. It made a great impression. I always left feeling joyful and lighthearted. On one occasion, I never took much notice of any special things, though I had heard other people relate special things about Father Aloysius. And even the special things that came from him, or graces that came through him, were almost matter of fact. I remember one time, after having been blessed by him, having seen him, having been blessed by him, I went outside to the car to go back to the monastery where I lived, and all of a sudden I noticed a strong aroma of flowers, and it struck me. And I looked around to see whether anything was in bloom, any flowers were around, and there was nothing. And I thought it strange, and I wondered to myself whether that had come from him. And he doesn't wear perfume, and I smelled myself. I didn't have any colognes on or anything. And then I didn't think anything more of it. I do remember one instance when, being with Father in spiritual direction, and I was sort of a stubborn sort of individual that wanted my way instead of listening to him. And I remember that I had been insisting on wanting to live the eremitical life as a Carmelite. And Father Aloysius kept on telling me, no, your vocation is to live the active life, live as a contemplative, but live the active life. And I kept on insisting, no, I wanted to do this other thing. So finally, he said, just a moment, and he began to pray. And he went into a very deep prayer, and it was, I knew that he was no longer there present with me. And I simply waited patiently. And when he came back to himself, he simply said to me, the Blessed Virgin Mary says that you will live the eremitical life for a while. And he couldn't tell me anything more. And I knew that he had been in prayer, and that either he heard a locution or he saw a vision, I don't know. But it was just very natural. There was not. I left shortly after that, after again receiving his blessing. Different times he would tell me things that later came to pass. The first time that I remember that happening was that I was going to make a retreat at a Trappist monastery. And I said I was going to go to this particular monastery in Snowmass. And he said to me, give my greetings to Father Emmanuel, who is at another monastery in Utah. And I thought to myself, well, I can't give greetings to that priest because I'm not going to see him. And I wrote to the monastery in Snowmass, and I was not able to go there at all. The only place that I could go was to the monastery in Utah, and I ended up seeing the priest and giving the greetings from Fr Aloysius.